Yo, what's up everybody? It's CineTech Fandom, back with another video. Today we're diving deep, and I mean Mariana Trench deep, into the world of indie filmmaking. This ain't Sundance, people, this is the real deal. We're talking about the blood, sweat, and tears it takes to get your movie made on your own terms. But let me tell you, it's a jungle out there. The indie film scene is more cutthroat than ever, with streaming services popping up like Starbucks and everyone and their grandma thinking they're the next Tarantino. It's easy to get lost in the noise. But don't sweat it. I'm here to be your guide. Consider this your crash course in avoiding the biggest pitfalls of indie filmmaking. We're talking about the 7 deadly sins that can kill your film faster than you can say action. Alright, let's kick things off with a sin that's as old as time itself, or at least as old as VHS tape's outdated formats. Look, I get it, there's a certain charm to grainy footage and that vintage aesthetic. But trust me, nostalgia only goes so far. We're living in the age of 4K, HDR, and enough pixels to make your eyeballs explode. Audiences are used to crystal clear images, and anything less just screams amateur. Imagine watching the next big action thriller, explosions going off, car chases galore, and it looks like it was filmed on a potato. Not exactly edge-of-your-seat material, right? You've poured your heart and soul into your film, so why shortchange it with outdated tech? Invest in decent equipment, learn how to use it, and give your masterpiece the visual treatment it deserves. Now, I know what you're thinking, but Casey, I'm working with a shoestring budget. I can barely afford a decent camera, let alone a red Komodo. And I hear you, I really do. But here's the thing, you don't need to break the bank to achieve a professional look. There are plenty of affordable cameras out there that shoot in 4K, and even 2K is a huge step up from standard definition. Rent, borrow, or even team up with other filmmakers to share resources. Get creative, hustle hard, and find a way to make those pixels count. Your future self will thank you. Remember, filmmaking is an investment, and the last thing you want is for your film to look dated before it even premieres. Stay ahead of the curve, embrace the future of filmmaking, and give your audience a visual experience they won't forget. Alright, let's talk about a sin that's a little more subjective, shooting in black and white. I know, black and white films have this timeless quality, a certain artistry that color just can't replicate. Think Casablanca, Citizen Kane, Schindler's List, cinematic masterpieces, all of them. But here's the catch. Those were different times. The world was black and white, literally, and audiences didn't have Netflix and a million other distractions at their fingertips. Today, black and white is a gamble. A risky stylistic choice that can either elevate your film to art house glory or alienate a wider audience. Even a film as brilliant as Darren Aronofsky's Pi struggled to find its footing with distributors because of its monochrome palette. And let's be real, getting your film seen is half the battle, right? So, before you go full noir on your masterpiece, ask yourself, does black and white truly serve the story I'm trying to tell? Now, I'm not saying black and white is a death sentence, far from it. There are plenty of modern films that have used it to stunning effect, but you need to be strategic about it. If you're dead set on black and white, consider shooting in color and then converting it in post-production. That way, you have the best of both worlds, the artistic vision you're after and a color version you can use for wider distribution. Remember, filmmaking is a business, and while artistic integrity is crucial, so is getting your film in front of as many eyeballs as possible. Don't let your love for black and white blind you to the realities of the market. Think about your audience, your distribution strategy, and whether the story you're telling truly demands a monochromatic palette. Sometimes a splash of color can make all the difference. Alright, so you've got your camera, you've got your crew, or maybe it's just you and your iPhone, no judgment. You're ready to make movie magic. But hold up, what's the story? What kind of world are we stepping into? Picking the right genre can be the difference between a straight-to-DVD release and a bidding war. Now, I know you're an artist, not a businessman. You want to pour your heart and soul into that indie drama about existential angst. But let's be real, those heartfelt dramas, those quirky comedies with no recognizable faces, they often struggle to find a home. Think action, sci-fi, horror, thriller. These genres have built-in audiences. So before you dive headfirst into that deeply personal project, consider the market. Be true to your vision while also being savvy about your genre. Now, I'm not saying every indie film needs to be a superhero flick or a haunted house thriller. There's room for nuance, for creativity within those broader genres. Look at Get Out, a brilliant blend of horror and social commentary, or Stranger Things, tapping into our nostalgia for 80s sci-fi while delivering fresh, compelling characters. The key is to find that sweet spot, that intersection between your passion and what audiences are craving. Maybe it's a family adventure with a sci-fi twist, or a fantasy film with heart-stopping action sequences. Don't be afraid to experiment, to blend genres and push boundaries. Remember, you're not just making a film, you're crafting an experience. And if you can deliver an experience that's both fresh and familiar, that ticks the boxes of a beloved genre, while also offering something unique, you're on the right track. So, do your homework, watch movies, read scripts, study the market, and most importantly, don't be afraid to dream big. Who knows, your indie genre bender could be the next breakout hit. Let's talk about star power, baby. That magical aura that surrounds certain actors, drawing audiences in like moths to a flame. Even a recognizable face in a supporting role can make a world of difference. It's like sprinkling gold dust on your movie poster. A familiar name can be the difference between obscurity and a distribution deal. Think about it. You're scrolling through Netflix, bombarded by endless choices. Which are you more likely to click on? Because star power, my friends, is a double-edged sword. Yes, a recognizable face can open doors, but it can also slam them shut if you're not careful. See, those big names, they come with big expectations and big price tags. We're talking about agents, managers, and lawyers, oh my. And then there's the whole SAG-AFTRA thing. For those not in the know, SAG-AFTRA is the Screen Actors Guild American Federation of Television and Radio Artists, basically, the union that protects actors' rights. And while it's amazing that actors have these protections, it also means more paperwork, more regulations, and potentially more costs for you. Suddenly, your shoestring budget is stretched even thinner, and you're left scrambling to make ends meet. And let's not forget about the potential for creative clashes. Big-name actors, they often have big opinions, and those opinions might not always align with your vision. So, before you go all in on star power, weigh the pros and cons. Can you afford their rates? Are you willing to navigate the complexities of union contracts? Are you prepared to potentially compromise on your artistic vision? These are questions only you can answer. Let's talk money, my friends, or more specifically, the lack thereof. Because let's face it, when it comes to indie filmmaking, we're not exactly swimming in cash. We're talking ramen noodle budgets, duct tape solutions, and maybe, just maybe, a pizza party if we wrap on schedule. But here's the thing. Budgetary constraints, while frustrating, can actually work in your favor. You see, the film industry, for all its glitz and glamour, is a business. And businesses, they love a good return on investment. And that's where the indie filmmaking sweet spot comes in. Films with very low budgets, think under $1 million, they have this underdog charm. They're seen as low-risk, high-reward propositions. If they flop, well, no big loss. But if they hit, if they capture the zeitgeist, they can turn into massive moneymakers. On the flip side, you've got the big-budget blockbusters, those $100 million behemoths that dominate the box office. These films, they're all about spectacle, about blowing audiences away with CGI and explosions. And while they might require a small loan from a few countries to finance, their potential for profit is astronomical. Now here's where things get tricky, the dreaded mid-budget movie. These films, they're stuck in a no-man's land. They're too expensive to be considered low-risk, but they lack the star power and marketing muscle of the big-budget behemoths. They're like that middle child, always struggling for attention, never quite fitting in, and sadly, they often struggle to find an audience. See, audiences, they're creatures of habit. They want either that intimate, character-driven experience of an indie darling or the mind-blowing spectacle of a blockbuster. Mid-budget movies, they often fall somewhere in between, and that can be a tough sell. They're not quite artsy enough for the indie crowd, not quite explosive enough for the action junkies. So, what's an indie filmmaker to do? Well, first off, be realistic about your budget. If you're working with limited funds, embrace the scrappiness, the DIY ethos. Turn those limitations into strengths. And if you do manage to snag a few $1 million, think carefully about how to maximize your impact. Don't try to compete with the big boys. Carve out your own niche. Tell a story that's both compelling and cost-effective. All right, folks, let's talk about something super critical subject matter. This is your story, your baby, but remember, you're putting it out there for the world to see, to judge, to embrace, or to completely ignore. You might be tempted to tackle controversial topics, push boundaries, get people riled up. And hey, controversy can create buzz, but it can also be a death sentence for your film, especially in the indie world where you're fighting for every eyeball. Distributors, those gatekeepers to your audience, they're looking for films that are going to resonate with a wide audience. They want to see dollar signs, not picket lines. So what does that mean for you? Think universal themes: love, loss, family, friendship, good versus evil, the underdog story. These are the things that connect with people across cultures, across languages, across backgrounds. Look, I'm not saying you can't make a film about a talking pineapple who solves crimes using interpretive dance. Go for it. But just know that you might be limiting your audience. And let's be real, some topics are just landmines, especially for independent filmmakers. Politics, religion, graphic sexual content, these things can be incredibly polarizing. They can alienate entire demographics before they even hit play. Now, I'm not saying those stories shouldn't be told, but if you're aiming for a wider release, for a chance to share your vision with the world, you've got to be strategic. Pick your battles. Choose subject matter that's going to resonate with a broad audience. Keep it relatable, keep it engaging, and most importantly, keep it entertaining. That's how you win in this game. All right, so you've poured your heart and soul into this film. You've got drama, action, maybe even a car chase scene. But hold up a second before you release this epic saga. You gotta ask yourself, how long is too long? There's something to be said about a tight, well-paced, 90-minute film. It's like the Goldilocks zone of movie runtimes. 90 minutes fits perfectly into those primetime TV slots. It's the sweet spot for grabbing attention and keeping them hooked. Not every film needs to be a lean, mean 90-minute machine, but if you're pushing past 2 hours, have a good reason. And I don't mean extra scenes of your neighbor's dog. Long films can be incredible, but they need to earn every minute. The last thing you want is your audience checking their watches. Longer movies mean fewer screenings, lower box office numbers. So ask yourself, is every minute essential to the story? Look, I get it. You're an artist, a visionary, a rebel with a camera. You want to break the mold, challenge conventions, and maybe even throw in a subtitle or two, just to keep things interesting. And hey, more power to you. But here's the thing. When it comes to reaching a global audience, English is still the undisputed king of the cinematic jungle. It's the language of Hollywood blockbusters, international film festivals, and those late-night movie marathons that keep you glued to the screen. Now, I'm not saying that foreign language films can't be successful. We've all seen those critically acclaimed masterpieces that transcend language barriers and move us to our core. But let's be real, those are the exceptions, not the rule. The truth is, English language films have a built-in advantage. They can be enjoyed by a wider audience without the need for subtitles or dubbing, which can sometimes be a barrier for viewers who just want to sit back, relax, and escape into another world for a couple of hours. Now, if your heart is set on making a film in another language, that's awesome. Embrace your vision, tell your story, and don't let anything hold you back. But here's the deal. You need to be smart about it. If you want to increase your chances of reaching a wider audience, you've got to think about things like subtitles and dubbing. And trust me, this is not the time to cut corners. Bad subtitles can ruin a film faster than you can say lost in translation. Invest in professional translators, people who understand the nuances of language and can capture the spirit of your film in both the original language and the translation. Because let's be real, nothing screams amateur hour like clunky subtitles that distract from the story you're trying to tell. And if you're thinking about dubbing, go all in. Hire experienced voice actors who can bring your characters to life in another language. Remember, you've poured your heart and soul into this film, so don't let something like bad dubbing hold it back from reaching its full potential. So there you have it, folks. The 7 deadly sins of indie filmmaking. Avoid these pitfalls, and you'll be well on your way to creating a film that captivates audiences, wins awards, and maybe even gets you a meeting with a Hollywood big shot. But at the end of the day, remember this: filmmaking is an art form. It's about passion, creativity, and pouring your heart and soul into something you believe in. So don't be afraid to take risks, break the rules, and tell the stories that are burning inside you. Just remember to keep these tips in mind, and you'll be well on your way to indie filmmaking greatness. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more filmmaking tips and tricks. See you in the next video.